This is from Stylars Conquest Part 2. It was never released because there wasn't much interest in the other book, so each book it costs, so I thought I'd give you a taste, just a couple of dozen lines, and see what you think. So, Stylars Conquest Part 2. Paolo was waiting for her, which always seemed to be the case. He was beginning who was in control of the relationship. What kind of relationship, he wasn't sure. It had started out as a business arrangement, but when she wasn't around, he wondered what she was doing. His thought, as of late, had always drifted back to thoughts of her. Perhaps it was nothing more than infatuation, though he had such relationships before. This one seemed deeper. All he knew was when they were together, the world seemed brighter. He felt more optimistic about the future. Not just his life, theirs. For the first time his thoughts weren't solely on the family business. The first time he was questioning what he truly wanted. He had been in awe of his father. The man seemed to see coin in everything he did. His personal life was shaky would have been an understatement. His mother had had several so-called friends over the decades, and though they were rarely seen in public together, when they were, their love for one another was there for the world to see. The act sometimes almost convinced him. His father had also had friends. They satisfied a physical need. His coin seemed to satisfy their other desires. He had always thought you had to have one or the other. Both sorts of relationships took time, and sacrifices would have to be made, either personally or financially. He had only seen his mother on an odd occasion. His father had made the decision, and though it looked like she might object, she had lowered her eyes. She knew she would be taken care of if she didn't protest. Separation, and she had been with her mate too long to begin again, and to be honest, she had become used to the lifestyle, and once more thinking about scrounging for scraps was something she would never do again. She had asked for one of the estates far from the city, and his father had agreed. She was seldom mentioned, which had been the case since his 10th year. There had been one female who had come into his father's life. At first he had given it little thought. Perhaps dozens of females had graced his father's bed since his mother had gone to her estate. Most had been interested in the materialistic side of his father, but there was one. His father purchased more and more lavish gifts, and everyone was refused, and over time he saw the look in his father's eyes change. Paolo had wondered if that great instinct his father had had for sensing weakness in a competitor had become clouded. His father seemed distracted for the first time. His body was there, but his mind was somewhere else. He had been content to sit back, and his son concluded some sizable deals. Paolo had been less than 20 years at the time. He had hoped his father would be there at his shoulder, but the female was taking more of the older male's time, and those deals that had seemed so secure had begun to crumble. Not only but his father had purchased an amulet that had cost him 2 businesses he had recently acquired. Perhaps it was his own purchase that had made him think of the chain of events. When he showed his father, the old male's eyes had glazed over. Perhaps he had been reminded of those days. The female in his father's case had been hired to play a part, and she had managed to unravel several years of hard dealing in a matter of a couple of months. His gift was little more than a pendant, but it had taken him a few weeks to find it, and he hadn't gone for value. He had something in mind, and it had been a piece he knew he would know if he saw it. Paolo had to wonder whatever had happened to the amulet his father had acquired. So that's the first part, and I hope some of you enjoyed it. I hope someone will look at this clip. Thanks for your time. Night.